Hello, I'm State Representative Jim Buchy from the 84th House District. Welcome to Ohio in Focus.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Ohio in Focus, a program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Brad Miller. Today I'm talking with State Representative Jim Buchy, who serves the 84th House District, which includes all of Mercer County and parts of Auglaize, Darke, and Shelby counties. Representative, thanks for being with us again today.
Thanks for having me, Brad. I always look forward to it.
So the budget process continues to move right along, and by the end of June will be signed into law. You've been in the legislature several years, but your most recent term began in 2011. Can you kind of walk through what the last two budget cycles have been like, how they've been different, how they've been similar?
Sure. Well, actually, Brad, this is the 11th budget that I've had the privilege to work with, and it's the last two have probably had the most substance and the biggest issues that I've ever been involved in. Last session, of course, it was the governor's plan that we implemented to help create jobs, and there were a lot of significant pieces of legislation in that. And of course, we balanced the budget. We had an $8.5 billion hole, and we filled it, and actually lowered taxes in the process. We didn't raise taxes, and so consequently, we're creating new jobs all the time. This budget is a separate piece that has different issues than the last one, but they're all big. And so yes, it's just very, very exciting. They're just intense, jam-packed budgets, but they're before us so that we can help grow the economy, create jobs. And by the way, Brad, we do a lot of surveys, and I would encourage everybody watching to go online and take our survey, because I want to know what's on your mind, and it helps me so much here, and I want your opinion. So if you will take time to let us know what you think, it will be graciously appreciated.
And that survey will be listed at the bottom of the screen, the link that people can go to. We often hear the governor talk about the rainy day fund. He always frequently brings up that when he first came into office, there was less than $1, I believe 89 cents in the rainy day fund, and now I believe it's up to close to $2 billion, around that. What is the importance of having these reserve funds available?
Well, Brad, the significance of having those reserve funds, just like at home in our family budgets, we always like to have reserves for contingencies for those unexpected expenses that come up and situations that rise that are over and beyond our regular budget. And that's the same case here. One, we want to have reserves so that if there's emergencies or blips in the economy, that we have the necessary reserves to bridge the gap. And currently, the $2 billion represents 3% of the budget. So it's not a huge number, but it's important that we have that stability. It also helps our credit rating for debt service. And so, quite frankly, those two big things, and it needs to be fully funded.
Another issue that we talked about previously was Medicaid reform, which the House did not include, or Medicaid expansion, which the House did not include in its budget, and the Senate has said it will not either. But the House is continuing to look into that issue. What are some of the things that the House is addressing?
Well, here again, before I answer that, I want to encourage the viewers to answer our survey question as it relates to the Medicaid issue. Now here, this is a very huge this is huge, and obviously it's not something that we have initiated. It's a response to Washington and the requirements that we have with Medicaid. So and frankly, I would have preferred it not even be in the budget. That's how big it is. So what we did was set it off the table for now, and you see that we have language in the budget that's going to require us to have legislation by the fall, and that's what we're working on. You've got several committees, or you've got a big committee that's dealing with this issue now, and so, but in the budget though, we do have provisions for mental health, addictive services, workforce development, and obviously the ongoing discussions that we have with the federal government to help us, because really what we view this is an opportunity to really have some Medicaid reforms that are meaningful, that downstream are going to help people be more productive in society. So this is so huge that it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work on the part of the legislature to make it better, and that's what we're doing.
So the goal of these committees and meetings is simply not to just rush something through and say you got something done, but to look at the issue as a whole before you pass anything.
Absolutely, and when we reform Medicaid, we obviously have to do it in concert with Washington, and so discussions are ongoing daily with the folks, so that whatever plan we end up at some point down the road, it will be in concert with each other.
The House of Representatives recently passed House Bill 37, which creates a program called Shared Work Ohio. What is this legislation all about?
Well, what this means is in the future, when there's slow times, there usually are layoffs. And what this legislation does, and it's wonderful, it's going to really help. It's going to give employers the opportunity to reduce full-time workers to part-time workers, and those part-time workers will then be eligible for unemployment compensation benefits to fill the gap. In other words, if you have a 40-hour work week that goes to 25, then those workers will get 15 hours equivalent of unemployment compensation benefits, but they'll still be working. And they'll probably still retain other benefits that they have from their jobs, so that the bottom line is there'll be less of a drain on the state unemployment compensation fund, and it'll hold on to jobs in the economy. In other words, our unemployment rate will not rise. So this is just a win-win situation, both for the taxpayers and for the employers. And I just really am excited about having the ability to support this legislation. I think it's wonderful for the economy in Ohio, and will help. Here again, that's another question we'd like your opinion on the survey.
Currently, 25 other states have similar policies in place. Just to reiterate, from the standpoint of an employee facing a potential layoff,
sure.
What is the difference before a shared work policy and after a shared work policy? How would that affect families and that employer?
Well, obviously, before the employer having to save money when sales are down would simply lay off ex-employees, and they would be eligible for unemployment compensation benefits and so on. But under this proposal, under this law, that employee will keep their job, will be working less hours per week based on the employer's scheduling. And then the gap between their regular full work week and what hours they're working part-time will be picked up by unemployment compensation, but they'll still have their job. And so that's much better for families. That makes it a whole lot more comfortable from a family standpoint.
Moving on to a topic that we have discussed in the past that pertains specifically to your district is the Lake Facilities Authority and Grand Lake St. Mary's. Since the last time we talked, what are some updates you can give the viewers?
Well, we were able to insert an amendment in the House to the budget that will give the local counties, the two counties in question here, Mercer County and Auglaize County, the local folks will have the opportunity to set in motion the Lake Facilities Authority. Now, this will be a creation that will be done by the county commissioners in Mercer County and Auglaize County. They'll pass a resolution to create the Lake Facilities Authority, and then they will have the ability to appoint a governing board, mostly from the political subdivisions in the watershed in both Mercer and Auglaize counties. And then that board will make recommendations to the county commissioners in terms of future ability to create revenue streams to focus solely on the restoration of the lake. And what that means is between the commissioners and the advisory board, they'll be able to come up with projects that are geared towards the restoration of the lake. Now, this is the Lake Facilities Authority is just solely focused on restoring Grand Lake St. Mary. So in the future, they could recommend that they have projects that's going to require X dollars and that they'll need some revenue for that. And at that point, the county commissioners could go to the residents of the watershed and impacted area for support for levies, for taxes, property taxes, for hotel and bed taxes, for maybe some bonding authority, whatever. But it all comes back to the local folks making the decision to consider the revenue that they need for the projects to restore the lake, and it cannot be done without voter approval. And the impetus for this, Brad, came from the county commissioners originally and the local folks who came up with the idea and the funding for the writing of the law and so on. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this as another option to really look at long-term restoration of Grand Lake St. Mary's.
So we're moving into the summer months. Some days feel like it more than others, but you'll still be busy at the State House during the summer months, but usually there are more things going on in the district. Do you have anything coming up in the district in the next few weeks or months?
Well, actually, last weekend I was at the Community Days in Jackson Center, a nice festival, a pancake breakfast, a parade on Sunday. It's just a great opportunity. Coming up is the Poultry Days at Versailles, Chickasaw Picnic in Mercer County, the Fort Recovery Jubilee, the festival at Rockford. These are June activities. I like to get out and talk to people and listen to people and learn what's on my constituents' minds, because what they tell me, just like the surveys that I like people to answer, is so that helps me represent my constituents better on a daily basis as we deal with the issues here.
And again, we have the links to the survey posted on the screen. At the end of every program, we usually have the representative talk about how best their constituents can reach them.
Well, obviously, the first and best way is telephone, and my phone number is 614-466-6344. That gets my office here in Columbus. Obviously, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We like everybody's email address because we constantly communicate. We write columns that newspapers print, and I have radio shows in the district, but I'm always accessible, and so we want people answering surveys. The more you can tell me, answer the questions on issues that we're dealing with here, it just is so beneficial. I can't impress enough, Brad, the importance of the constituents of the 84th telling me what's on your mind. I work for you.
We appreciate you being accessible to us as well. So, Representative,
right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for having me.
We look forward to seeing you again on the next edition of Ohio in Focus, the program that brings state government to you. Thank you for watching.